Well, hello, I'm Mike Festiva. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to be covering the basic gas-powered skid steer if you're in the market to buy one of those, and we're going to cover the diesel-powered with pilot controls in the next size up. So whether you're looking for a gas or diesel, this video is going to explain a lot about each size, what to expect from them, jobs you can get done with them, and jobs you're not going to be able to do with them. So hope you enjoyed the video. So I got my little gas-powered skid steer, 13.5 horse here as size comparison. Really, that other one's a bit bigger lengthwise, but not by much for the capacity this thing offers and how smooth it is. This gas one, it's great. It fits in the back of a truck or on a small trailer, but the bucket capacity is far greater. This one is wider, but much deeper. The lifting capacity is greater. This thing you lift up, full bucket, doesn't matter what you put in it, it never really gets tippy where you're operating it. This one, you gotta be kind of careful because there's a point. If you load lumber on the forks or anything like that, you are the counterbalance massively on this machine. You step off, sometimes the whole thing will tip forward. This thing could benefit greatly from some extra weights on the back. This thing, I thought maybe it would need it when I first got it, but nah, it's fine. This thing also, that spring-loaded platform is awesome. I would probably always try to seek one of those out on any skid steer. This one folds up and easily out of the way, so it makes this thing even shorter for loading in the truck. But all said and done, bucket to bucket length, they are the same. Lined up here, this one is maybe 2 feet longer, tops. But the lifting capacity and how stable that one is. This one, you're riding around a lot, and you get bucked up depending on what terrain you're going over. Just the track length in general, you know, it's massively longer, and the track width size tracks like what you would see on a machine, the commercial grade. These things are always been a little disappointing how skinny they are. These ones are far fatter, but not only that, it's the thickness of the track. These ones are much thicker. There's more material going on here in the lug than this one. Now we're talking about tracks. I'm going to talk about the gas skid steer. This is the way you kind of roll tracks off with that little gas machine, going over side hills like that. Here I'm going through the woods a little bit and little stumps and things. Very tippy machine, shorter, but you know, you get a lot of work done. But keep in mind, I partially roll a track off like this every 5 hours. I got about 50 on the machine, and fully roll a track off every 10 hours. It's not very hard. It takes you 10 to 15 minutes if you got the tools on you to get the track back on. But it's one thing I want to mention with these little gas skid steers is it is a pretty common thing. I don't just turn one track forward, one track in reverse to spin around. You don't spin on a dime with these things that much because you're asking for track issues. Keep in mind that diesel machine, I only got about 20 hours on it, but I've had 0 issues. I would never do this with the gas machine. This thing I did about 5 times for a previous video. No problems at all. About 20 hours worth of work at this machine, and the tracks have been 0 issues. So from an actual semi-commercial standpoint, or if you're going to loan a friend, I don't really recommend loaning these things out to people, but this machine feels like you're not going to get it back with the tracks popped off. The gas machine, almost guaranteed, if someone doesn't know what they're doing with it, they're going to pop a track within an hour or 2. So something to keep in mind, track to track. The diesel is trouble-free. The gas, they're a bit of trouble. But don't get me wrong, I don't totally think this machine's junk after running this one. This one has its situations where this one does still perform pretty well. The operating controls on this one are just way more intuitive than this one. I really didn't like this layout of the controls on this when I first got it. Got used to it, but I'd say the user curve on this one's way smoother. Plus you can roll the bucket, do what you need. This one, when you roll the bucket, it totally slows down one track or the other one. This is much easier to grade and manipulate the bucket and still track straight. Cost-wise, down to functionality of each machine side by side, because this one costs a bit more, but that's like one and done machine. This one, it's one of those machines you might want to get, run for a few years and then upgrade. But the cool thing is, both of these run the same quick attachment plate. I think it's a Toro Dingo style size plate. Cool thing about that is if you do get attachments for this, they'll fit on that machine. But look at this. This is tiny, these little pins, compared to this one. And like I said, I've never had an issue, but if you're back grading and pulling back on the bucket, that's when those pins get loaded. So having bigger pins on a bigger machine when you're back grading, there's a lot of load on the pins backwards. Other way, it just hooks onto here on the quick disconnect and it stays on. The crazy amount of more work you can get done with that big blue one there than this one. So the way these controls work, this moves your left track, this moves your right track, forward and reverse. This raises and this lowers your bucket arms. This curls to dump, this curls back to lift. It's intuitive enough when you get working with it, but it has a little bit of a learning curve coming from other stuff, especially when you go to do any bucket manipulation. It will slow on track if you're trying to travel or grade. So you kind of got to get used to that. That was a big downside of the hydraulics. The pilot controls on here are just way more intuitive. I mean, if you play it in any airplane video games or anything like that, I mean, it comes pretty naturally running these, and it's really smooth. I mean, you can drive this thing around with using your thumb and your finger if you want. So they're far superior controls, but you're gonna have to pay to get premium controls like that, pilot controls. So the bucket capacity on these two machines are massively different. I would say this one holds at least a bucket and a half to a bucket and 3/4 of this one. That is 38 inches from outside edge to outside edge. This one is 48, but the depth from the cutting edge to the back wall is about 26 inches. This one is about 18 1/4. Height 13 inches. This is 14 inches. So this thing is really far deeper and far wider. So you get probably a bucket and a half per scoop more, maybe a bucket and 3/4. It holds quite a bit more. And the lifting capacity on this diesel one is just outstanding. It's great. And when you're riding on it, when you go to lift something heavy, the machine doesn't just kick up. Like, it's really stable. The machine will lift about its full capacity, but it's not all tippy. Like previous video I showed lifting up that Subaru, even stepping off the machine, and it didn't kick up. This thing, even if you're running pallet forks or anything on, you got a heavy load, you step off, it tilts forward, things like that, or you go to lift something, it just kicks the back end up. So a lot more squirrely, this little gas machine, but it is more compact, easier to get in the back of a truck. That's that with the bucket capacity. Lifting capacity is night and day difference between these machines. So I got the cutting edges lined up here, and you can see the diesel Ripa RS06 is definitely longer, but it feels bigger when you're on it. It feels more massive, but it doesn't feel like super bulky. It fits in smaller spaces pretty well. I have not loaded in the back of my pickup truck yet, but I think as long as you take off the bucket, you probably can. I really like this spring platform. Smooths out the ride a lot more than this, but this one has a feature where you can pull this pin and you can lift it up for storing. This one, I don't know, maybe you can ratchet strap it up, but maybe pull out the springs, but it sure doesn't feel like it folds up all the way like the other one. So width of each machine, this one is definitely wider. We'll measure that next year. So on the Ripa RS06, 41 inches wide, and the tracks are significantly wider. They are 8 inches wide and much thicker material. My smaller gas skid steer is about 39 inches, and the rubber tracks are much skinnier. They are 6 inches wide and much thinner material. Now you saw that lifting it, about all I want to do. If I stepped off, it'd probably tilt forward a little bit, but this thing, this is the ND1625. Let's see, I thought I gave a weight on here. I believe this machine, because it doesn't give a weight, but I believe this machine is about 1,650 pounds, somewhere in that range. So it lifted it. The machine didn't struggle. So I'm gonna pop the hoods on these machines. They're both pretty basic. Of course, the gas is the most basic unit. Get this hood prop up here. Unfortunately, this one, the company chinched out, and they did not put, there's a hood prop on that thing. They did not put an oil cooler in here, so I did an actual video on putting this little eBay oil cooler on here. A lot of these gas-powered skid steers have a big oil cooler here that folds out of the way. I adapted this one to it. Really simple machine, though. Of course, this is not pilot control, so you got your direct valves right up here. So basically, it's a 420cc engine running a dual hydraulic pump. One pump works for one track, one works for the other. and one accessory like the bucket roll and bucket lift would basically split on those functions. So you can't drive forward and lift and lower your bucket and tilt without slowing one of the tracks down and tracking sideways. That's kind of a drawback on these smaller gas powered machines. But I do like the single 420cc gas engine because they're like $350 at Harbor Freight if they go out. There's not much to them. Right down here, you got your hydraulic reservoir. It holds maybe 5 gallons. Got a little sight glass on the front of it up here with the temperature gauge on it. Filler cap, return filter. Basically, all your hydraulic fluid goes into your pumps, runs up to your valve bodies, does all your functions, runs back through the oil cooler, back to your return on your tank. There's not much more than that. I don't really like that this has all these hoses on the outside to snag on stuff, but not really running through too much brush anyways, because you'll probably lose a track. But I haven't screwed up any of them. It's been pretty good. I can't really complain. I've ran a log splitter and my grapple off these auxiliaries. Again, once you engage the auxiliaries, one of your tracks won't move, so you're not going to travel with it. This is your auxiliaries. They can be momentary, or you can slide them over here for my log splitter and keep it running continuous flow. So what kind of jobs you can expect to get done with this gas-powered skid steer with the dual pumps like that? Even the triple pump units don't really flow that much for running trenchers and things like that. Really, your bucket's going to be your main attachment you're going to do most of your work with. So mostly backfilling ditches, moving gravel, lifting gravel, loading in the back of trucks, moving dirt around. You're going to do a lot of work. It's going to be like a roll around wheelbarrow. You can do a bunch of plowing with it. It's a pretty useful machine. I also have this little log splitter I welded up a little trailer hitch on, and you can move smaller trailers around your place. Great for maneuvering that. Just hauling stuff here. I'm hauling some generators around my place, junk, taking stuff to the recycling, just around your place, rock. It's like a drive around wheelbarrow, and you can do stuff like the clamshell buckets, pinching buckets and grapples, things like that. The stuff you're not going to run on it is heavy duty like attachments like trenchers, sweepers, stuff like that. It's just not going to have the hydraulic flow to do any of that, or you won't be able to track it all once you're engaged that attachment. So that's what you can expect to run with a machine like this. Got a really basic throttle, key, horn, lights. I got 48.5 hours. You got your volts, got your hydraulic oil temp, and your choke. These controls, this would be track forward, track back, track forward, track back, bucket curl, boom arms lifting and lowering. Really basic. I don't like how hard it is to get to the gas cap on here. I have to run a funnel every time you put fuel in here. These engines are a bit noisy, but electric starts worked great every time. Never had to get to the pull starter. Honestly, I debated about taking this whole guard off of here because it's just easier to get to everything. Battery's located back here. I like that this little platform flips up by pulling that pin. Really basic. Only thing I've had to do other than installing the oil cooler on this machine was the key switch that came with this thing that's mounted right up here. They should have a hood over something like this. The original one, the key was not in an enclosed setup like this. So anytime you left it out, water would get in the key switch. In about 35 hours, that failed. It just would like be finicky to start it and shut it off. Ordered an eBay one, repinned the little outputs so it plugs in the stock wiring harness. And the reason I ordered this one had the proper on and off circuit on the key switch, but it also had this keyed cap. I mean, if these companies just think through this basic stuff, if you're going to put a key that's going to get water in it and not work, put a keyed cap that at least makes like a water cover over the switch. Other than that, that's been a pretty basic unit. Now onto this machine. I'll pop the hood here. I like that this has this strut that holds it up and locks it. Do wish that they put more foam. I put some foam on here because these things sound rattly just from the hood, but that's really basic. I mean, this one's rattly as well. You got the Kubota D1105 3-cylinder diesel. This is, I think, about 24 horse. This one has a high output, better alternator than some of the smaller Kubotas. This is probably about a 40 amp. This machine over here probably puts out a few amps tops. Got a nice big air filter, fuel filter, water separator, big, enormous load sensing piston pump. Much nicer hydraulic system on this thing, but because it's pilot controls, you got a more complex valve body down here. Pilot control filter down here. battery up front. So now this machine has way more auxiliary flow if you're looking to run other things. Of course, you can run the grapples, you can run the 4-in-1 buckets, things like that. Almost all these skid steers are going to run that kind of stuff. But what this thing is going to shine is you're going to be able to run trenchers, you're going to be able to run stump grinders, you're going to be able to run all kinds of things that have a high demand of hydraulic flow because it has that big variable displacement load sensing hydraulic pump in it. So you're going to be able to run that stuff and you're going to be able to travel. I trenched about 150 feet of line at my buddy's place to help him put a new water line in. Did it in about an hour, and the machine did great. No problem at all, even with some big rock that we're starting to dig up in the trench. And you could travel back, no problem. So if you're really looking to do some semi-commercial work or have a lot of this kind of stuff you need to do around your house, you're probably going to be better off just buy once and forget about it. Just get a good diesel machine like this with a really high flow hydraulic pump on it. You're not going to regret it ever. Really nice, more quiet. This Kubota's quieter than that gas engine. Nice big muffler on it. Really simple, big oil cooler and radiator back over there with a car size fan that spins off the motor from a belt. So cooling is not an issue. You got all your small hoses going to your pilot control valves up here. You got a big sight glass for your hydraulics. I think 7-gallon hydraulic oil tank, a 7-gallon fuel tank. You fill them right up here, really easy from the platform. Return filter, you got your gauges, hour meter, check lights, your glow plug lights, all that kind of stuff, oil light, fuel gauge, water temp, lights, got a 12-volt socket. This, again, you could probably get water in that key, but if I'm gonna leave this thing for any length of time, I just put the rubber cap on it. Much more robust key, like a real equipment key on these things. Nice throttle right here, easy to use. This is like a continuous, like you put it like that and it's gonna run like a grapple, you'd have to pull it back again. I'm glad it stays in position so you're not trying to like run something like a log splitter and keep it continuous there, but it would be nice if it had a momentary setting on it. So run the grapple, you gotta push it down, bring it back, stuff like that. Simple. These don't really do much. I think there's a horn on one of them. The lights work pretty good on this one. Really simple controls on here. One joystick controls going forward, turning right, turning left, reversing, all that. Just all done by this joystick. Lifting, lowering, rolling of the bucket. So you can just do really smooth movements while you're controlling this thing and traveling forward, and you can lift and lower and tilt and back grade the bucket and do all that kind of stuff while you're traveling. And it doesn't slow like over the right or left track down. So it works pretty good. The hydraulic system on this is far superior. Of course, that spring-loaded platform is nice. I would always try to find a skid steer with a spring-loaded platform because this thing, after run it 3 or 4 hours, it shakes you around a lot on that metal platform, and this has a smooth spring action. Of course, there's an enormous radiator in here, and if you want to learn more about this machine or that machine, I'll put videos down below. Got a full 40-minute review on this thing, all the ins and outs, everything you want to know about it. And I got some good reviews on this machine too. So if you're looking for a basic gas unit, it'll tell you a lot in that. And if you're looking for one of these and want to learn more, that video down below in the description will tell you a lot about this one. All said and done, at the end of the day, no matter what you go for, a gas or a diesel skid steer, depending on your budget and depending on your needs, you're going to realize once you use it for a bit, how did you ever get by around your property without one? They're extremely useful, back saver, save yourself from getting a hernia. You can move thousands and thousands of pounds worth of gravel and dirt in an hour. You know, it takes no effort at all to move that much material easily. And they're one of those things that I will always try to have a diesel or gas skid steer around my property for doing projects, because in that one gas unit I had, I put about 50 hours on it in the last year and a half, and I've got crazy amounts of work done. I probably moved 150,000 pounds of gravel around with it and countless amounts of dirt. I mean, that's stuff I didn't have to do with a shovel wheelbarrow. I haven't barely used my tractor since I got that gas skid steer because that little thing is so much more maneuverable. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. I got a lot more videos on the subject, so check out my channel, and I have a lot more videos to come. So hope you enjoy it. Take care. Bye.